I got what fingerprinting is and why is it important, or what is fingerprinting, why is it important. Basic fingerprinting is when you capture somebody's fingerprints on a device or on a piece of paper and to send in most cases, for a background check. What I mean by device is what we have right here, something called like a live scan device, where you can capture a person's fingerprints on a live scan device and you transmit to the agency that's asking for those particular fingerprints to do a background check. Like, for example, for the state of Florida, it could be the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. If you're in California, it could be the Department of Justice. Another way to capture fingerprints is on paper, on an ink card. So paper and ink. It's just two methods of capturing fingerprints that send off to the government or to law enforcement to do a background check. But why is it important? Carrie, why is fingerprinting important?
Well, fingerprint is one thing is important because no one has two prints alike. It's your own personal identity. And
I don't know. I see minority. What's it called? Minority Report. They might take the different that one there.
No, not even identical twins have the same print.
True. That is true.
So your fingerprint.
I did see something before a couple of times from letters from the FBI stating, this is more like a side note here, a person has come back and get fingerprint again because the fingerprints were too closely matched to someone else's prints in the system. I did see that letter a couple of times come across our system like that there. Yeah, but it's important because it's used to help identify a person. That's really their DNA. The fingerprints is part of their biometrics. They're part of their DNA.
Mm-hmm.
And they use these fingerprints for jobs. They can use them for licensing purposes. They can use them for identification to match up who this person is in case the person was abducted or they found somebody who don't know who they are. Mm-hmm. But fingerprints are important. They really are. Just a good way of help identifying who the person is in many different avenues. Yes. Many different avenues. Steps to set up a fingerprint business in Texas. These are one of the most common questions we get all the time. How can I get started fingerprinting in my state? I'm in Texas. What do I need to do to fingerprint? So, folks, like we showed you early on, to start business in Texas, to start a fingerprint business in Texas, things to take in considerations and the steps also. So when you inquire about doing fingerprinting in Texas, you should ask yourself, what are you referring to? You're referring to a live scan device? Sorry about the cord in my face and stuff. Or are you referring to ink card fingerprinting? Mm-hmm. Or both?
Yes.
So in Texas, like most other states, Texas has one vendor that they approve and have the contract for where they can do live scan transmissions and transmit to the state of Texas. So you think about doing that one there, you need to contact the vendor for the state of Texas and see if they approve you to transmit through their platform, through their system for the state of Texas. And if you're lucky, they may pay you a couple of bucks. I ain't talking, I mean a couple of bucks, $3 or $4 if you're lucky, if you get approved as an agent for those particular vendors to transmit to those particular states like Texas. So just keep that in mind. But other things you could do up there is do ink card fingerprinting. And the steps is right now, number one is do your homework. Contact the government entity that's in charge of fingerprinting transmissions for Texas and see what they have to say. Find out who the vendor is, not just for Texas, but other states might be in the same situation. Most of them are. Who the vendor is for that particular state and contact them directly and see what's required to get approved to be an agent with them and how much they're going to pay you if you are approved. And if you're lucky, you might get a couple of bucks, but that's between you and them, working like that. But something just to take considerations. Getting your licensing, if you're able to do fingerprinting, it's ink card fingerprinting, make sure you have your required licensing required. It might be a business license to fingerprint that city, might be a state license to fingerprint that particular state. Each states may vary, but you need to do your homework. Mm-hmm. Any suggestions, Carrie? Now, Carrie, folks, before I get started with Carrie, talk. You think I talk a lot? Carrie has to just break out the pen and paper and start taking notes. I already got this right here. Okay. What was one is Carrie? Here's your spot to shine as always. What steps to take in consideration starting a business like fingerprinting in Texas?
Well, you got to know your pros and cons. Before you got to first go out there and see what you're offering to the public. Is there a supply and demand for that service? And what I mean
True.
by that is do lot, especially in a state where they're only allowing certain vendors to provide that service. Do all your homework. See what the requirements are. See how much you know. Weigh all the pros and all your cons. You want to know approximately how much money you need to invest, and how long are you going to have to invest that money before you start seeing a return on that money. And can you understand that type of, if you go out there and you flop and you lose, can you
Yep.
afford to lose that type of money?
That
Because
is true.
fingerprinting is not a cheap hobby. You just think it's a hobby. It's a
Mhm.
profession. And with any profession, especially starting out businesses, guess what? You're the owner.
Mhm.
There's no banks. You got to make sure you have enough assets, enough capital to survive it. If you don't have at least 3 years worth of capital that you have accessibility to, and you can stand the possibility of losing, don't go into fingerprinting. I would just be
That's for
just
any type of business too, though.
that's what
That's for
any
any
type
type.
of business. But like I
Yeah,
said, if you don't have at least 3 years of capital that you can say, well, okay, I can put this money here. If I lose it, I'll be okay.
Yep.
If I take it and I can make it into a profit, I'll be better. Then that's the mindset you have to have when you go into any type of business, but especially in this business, because this business is saturated heavily. You may not hear of them, but as soon as you start your research and get ready to open up your doors, you're gonna find that there's 50 of them right within a 50-mile
Yeah.
radius of you. So do your
that is
homework.
true.
Do your
That
homework.
is true.
You know, and
That
each state gonna require something different.
Yes.
And if you can't put yourself in a position to be the leader and let others come and follow you, as opposed to you trying to follow others, not the right business for you. I can't. That just. Yeah, I'm not trying to discourage you. I'm just being as totally honest to you from what I've experienced myself to tell you what I know.
Yep.
what about you, Mama? Anything to share with the folks out there?
I mean, I agree with what Curry said. The business is saturated, across. But where we are right now, I'm in South Florida, so there's a lot of competitors out there. But as long as you think that that you have the knowledge, take the classes, the skills, you can overcome and make sure that you can make your footprint to the business world. So, like Kerry said, just do your research and take your knowledge and take the classes too. Because
Yeah,
by acquiring the classes and have the knowledge of what you're doing, and make sure you do the manual print one, the fingerprint manual before you do the live scan. So you know
yeah,
the foundation of what you're supposed to do versus the live scan. At least you understand why the necessity of the live scan and what necessity for the fingerprint paperwork, the paper one. So it's
yeah,
very important to do your research, do your homework, look on your the on the map where all the are located, and start as a mobile as a beginning before you get an office, just to make sure you know what you're
mhm,
doing. And once you acquire the customers, then you see, what, I'm ready to do to have an office. So it's
yeah,
very important to do your homework. Do your
yeah.
homework. Do your homework.
And I just want to say one other thing, feeding off what Mama said. Also, take in consideration every year we have these local elections.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know who's going into office. So as the election goes and different candidates goes into office, there's laws such as be changed in your business, in your industry. So therefore, you have to constantly read at least every month to make sure that the laws are still in place in your jurisdiction. If not, you miss a month, you could be breaking the law.
That
Yes.
is true. That
You-
is true there. Carrie, you mentioned something pretty good a few minutes ago about having like a reserve fund. And I'm assuming that you're referring to a person who has no other income coming in there. A lot of folks come to us sometimes, they want to quit their day job yesterday to start this right away because they see some type of hype videos out there or someplace like that. We tell them, don't do it. This is a business. You
Yeah.
need to treat it right. You need to do your homework right. Any type of reserve you have for business for your family is good versus having nothing at all. It could be 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Anything's better than nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But we tell folks don't treat it like a hobby. This is a
Yep.
profession. It's a profession. And you guys also folks said about take this seriously. Don't focus on domination. Don't try to be a follower. Take the initial steps to market right and get ahead of the crowd and stay like that. You have to hustle. You have
Yes.
to hustle the right way to grow your organization.
You do.
They're not just going to come to you out the blue and say, okay, then, sometimes it happens like that. Some of us lucked out like that, walked across the street and got some very large contracts.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to be serious, man. You have to put your name out there and make it work.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
you got some folks that are saying hi from friends from Facebook land.
Hi.
Yeah. Another thing I want to take in consideration here, let me find it here, folks. It just disappeared for a second. People want to know what's required to fingerprint. What equipment do we need to have? I always ask them, when you capture fingerprints, what happens with the fingerprints? Well, I don't know. I'm not sure. Okay, we explain the difference between ink card fingerprinting and live scan fingerprinting, and then ask them which one. They still gonna say, I don't know. I just want to do live scan because everybody else is doing it. So, if you want to do live scan, all that means is like electronic fingerprinting. Just because you capture somebody's fingerprint on an electronic device like this right here,
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean you're going to transmit those fingerprints to a government entity. All live scan really means is capturing fingerprints on an electronic device designed for capturing fingerprints. That's all it really means is. The next question you should be asking yourself, once you capture those fingerprints on a live scan device, what happens with fingerprints? Now pay close attention here. Are you going to transmit out to the government for a background check those fingerprints if you're approved to get that done and if you set up for that? Are you going to save the fingerprints and archive them if the government lets you do that?
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to print out the fingerprints on the ink card if the government lets you do that?
Yeah.
So just because you capture fingerprints on an electronic device, that's called live scan. But the question is, what happens next with the fingerprints? It's very important to understand that. And if you want to print on ink cards, then you need some equipment. You need to have the laptop. You need to have the software to run the operating system. You need to have the ink cards. You need to have the printer that's
Yeah.
approved by the FBI just to print it on ink cards. All the stuff you need to have if you
Yes.
want to do a live scan, but print it on ink cards. Okay? So folks out there just want to do ink card fingerprinting, you may not need to invest heavily into the equipment right away unless your business model recommends that, or your business puts you in a position where you need to have a live scan device to capture prints quickly for large volumes, very large volumes. But most cases, you could go ahead and do ink card fingerprinting in pretty much all the states without having a live scan device. Money's still the same color. You still get paid the same way. So
And
things to take consideration. And those out there in Texas watching this session right now, other states like in Texas, we recommend you start doing ink card fingerprinting. Learn the industry. Like Karen almost shared with you today, you just want to jump in there blind.
Yeah.
Do your homework, get properly trained, and please quit going out those fly-by-night sites who are just not taking off the training wheels off the tricycles, not going to teach you how to fingerprint.
Yes.
Don't do that.
Mhm.
I don't care how cheap it is. This is your business investment. Do the right way. We're very good at fingerprinting, and this is just keeping it real. We know what we're doing.
Yeah.
So if we get properly trained, contact the National Licensing Association. We'll get you taken care of. But quit trying to get your business started off with pennies because you end up making nothing but pennies. You end up being busy, staying broke.
Yeah.
Stay busy, stay broke. Get productive, get paid.
Mhm.
All right? Just keep that in mind. It's very important.
Yeah.
What you guys got to say about that one? There anything at all? Because I could talk all day about this.
I'm good.
I ask people when they ask me that question, and I ask them one basic thing: do you actually think you can make more money off live scan as you do ink card? And do you know how much it's gonna cost you to do a live scan as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to an ink card?
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's
And
a
I
big.
tell them, you know what? Believe it or not, I rather sit down. I rather do 5 ink cards than one live scan. And they
It's
look at me like I'm
good,
crazy. I said,
it pays
yes,
well.
And
And
that's
some
why you
folks,
always learn the basic first before you do the live scan. Learn the
exactly.
ink first before the live scan.
Exactly. Because like
no,
I tell them, if I do 5 live scan, I make more money than you doing one. If I do 5 ink cards, I've gotten more training, better
Yeah.
doing it
Yep.
than and made more money than you did on one live
That's
scan.
that's right. I don't think they heard about making up money.
You
Um,
you got to pay the state their fees. You got to pay for your extra boost, your backup, your because you don't have
and
what internet, so you got to pay for that. You got to pay for everything. Only
yep.
thing I got to do is pay for my gas, and you pay me the rest for my time to sit there and roll your finger cards, your ink
Yep.
card,
that's right.
and I don't have to
That
worry
is
about
right.
making a mistake, nothing. But so learn how to be humble in the beginning,
Yes.
because if you show that you're appreciative of the small things, the larger things will come.
Yep.
But you
That's
have
right.
to be humble.
Yep.
Be humble and just don't, like I said, you're not if you come into this business and think you're gonna be a multi-millionaire in 3 to 5 to 10 years, I wish you luck. You better take a chance of playing the lottery. Because you got a better
Some
chance of
people have
winning
though. Some
than you.
people have. They got pretty lucky with that.
Yeah,
Started business. They scaled it. Besides just fingerprinting out of one office, they scaled it. There's some organizations out there that have now multiple locations throughout their state or throughout the country who scaled it because they did the things like you guys were suggesting. Do your homework, get
mhm,
properly trained, and treat it like an organization.
yeah.
They did. Something you guys touched on early on there. I'm gonna circle back to it right now. You kind of touched on how they get started, where they get started. I think you mentioned mobile fingerprinting or work from home. People, when you plan to start fingerprinting, take in consideration right now where's going to be your operation. Where's going to be your primary operation for fingerprinting? Are you be working from home? Are you going to have yourself like a virtual office someplace, like executive suite service? Are you having yourself a physical office someplace? Or it's going to be a home-based office where it's a separate room or a separate home right next to your home, where the case may be. You need to focus on where should you set up shop.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we have several videos on that part right there. It'll be in the playlist also. Check the playlist here from on the YouTube channel here for this video on how to start fingerprinting working from home. Okay, we got a 6-part series we did for free. Normally a $2,500 program, we did it for free for you folks to get some good information versus all that hype. Take advantage of it. Okay, then check the playlist on home-based business operation. You have it right there in front of you. Take advantage of it there.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, take advantage there. Um, what you guys shared was pretty good. We could go on and on and on. And folks, if you have any questions out there about how to get started fingerprinting in your particular state, leave your comments in the comment section. Join us on YouTube. Ring them crazy bills out there. What would they be saying on YouTube? Just do it. Okay, then? Because we do this out of our love for you folks, and we want you guys to be successful with what you're doing. Carrie and my boy are very good at what they're doing. You know, they got started this year, and they're doing the right things. And we welcome you guys to the same thing. And Mamba, what one thing can you tell us right now to say, you know what, I want to do fingerprinting in my state. What's the first thing I should do?
I took the classes. But
Yeah.
actually, before the classes, I did my homework. I did my homework. I did look at the homework. I went to the states, and I looked the credential what they need to be done. What was the last scan? I did research about the last scan. Research about the ink card. What was the difference between the ink card and the last scan? And I also learned the history too of fingerprinting. What was the purpose of fingerprinting? I have to know
Good.
the name of the ridge, and then
Yep.
the delta. So all those things is not because my accident. I just did the research before I even attend the classes. I had to do more research just to make sure
That's
what I
right.
learned in classes is what I learned from the state website. So definitely for my takeaway is do your homework, do your research, do your homework because
Yeah.
knowledge is power.
Yes. Most
Carrie, a person been in business for 1 year, but they want to take it to the next level. What one thing we recommend for them?
That's a good one. I would say basically, if you succeeded the first year and you're happy with what you've done, then you got to be creative as if you are still at the beginning. And
Mhm.
you have to recreate yourself, reinvent yourself.
There you go.